thank you for taking time out. We've got a large panel and which represents almost every spectrum that needs to be represented in any discussion on the budget. So I'm going to ask Ajit to start off by giving us a short, and I know it can't be short because we are in such a mess, but a short description of how things stand at this point in time. There have been comparisons, Ajit, justifiable in some ways, entirely unjustifiable in other ways if you look at the numbers and the balance of payment situation, comparing what's happening now to 1991. So if you could tell us how bad things really are, I think it would give us a good starting point.
Yeah, thanks, Sukumar. Since I'm the only economist on the panel, I have the right to disagree with myself. Yeah, on the macro context to this budget, I don't, of course, think that it's as critical or as dire as 1991, because 91 was a balance of payments crisis, and we had the external situation also, the Iraq war or the first Gulf War. So anyway, let's not go there. If it comes up later, maybe we can compare. But the macro context right now is inflation is sort of the most looming, large, number one concern, I think. And this is not recent. Inflation has been with us for quite some time. And this is historically unprecedented, that continuously for maybe 3 or 4 years, high inflation, nearly double digit. And if you look at food inflation particularly, has been with us for quite some time. And it's even more significant because we have a year when we just concluded, I think, a record food grain production. How do you revive growth, provide the drivers through investment-led growth? So provide perhaps, don't unwind the stimulus term completely, and yet not give enough, provide enough anti-inflationary signal. I think that's the kind of background. Because remember, the moment growth picks up, and this is for some of the corporates to tell us, the margins have been squeezed so much, cost push, inflation or whatever. The first thing corporates will look for is to start raising prices. Yeah. The moment there's some signs of growth, there will be a tendency to start raising prices, which will again be inflationary. So this is a very difficult balancing act.
Okay, thanks, Ajit. Sets the context nicely. I'm going to ask Seshagiri Rao to come in now. What would you like to see on the policy front?
Today, the major issues the industry has been facing is one is relating to resource allocation. Today, manufacturing industry in India is not able to do well, it is not able to grow. Even though we have inherent competitive strengths relative to other countries, we are not able to show that competitive strength due to certain constraints which are created for the manufacturing sector. Number one, we have minerals in our country. Whereas those minerals, instead of giving it to the industry for value addition, whereas those are not being exploited, and whatever exploited, they are getting exported, and we are importing the finished goods. So the competitive strength of India, particularly steel industry, if you look at, we have large iron ore reserves, and iron ore is not being produced adequately in India because of the constraints that have been created. And whatever iron ore that is produced, instead of making available to domestic industry, that is getting exported, and we are importing steel. So that is the kind of environment, industry by industry, we have. So therefore, the natural resource allocation, how do we bring it in a manner that it is transparent, and value addition will be given the major criteria, which will lead to revival of investment cycle, and the jobs will come back to India, whereas we are exporting the jobs from India to other countries by taking away these minerals. That is one major thing. I don't know whether budget will immediately do or some legislative measures are required to be taken in order to revive this economy. Second issue, which is relating to the again industry, is the land. If we have to set up a project, what is required is not only the resources, natural resources, which we have but not available to the industry. The second point is the Land Acquisition Act, which has come recently, that has created more constraints instead of removing the constraints. So it is next to impossible for a private company to acquire the land for the industry. it will take a huge amount of time. Even the timelines which are there in the act, if somebody analyzes, it will take minimum, in my view, 3 to 5 years time to have the land in possession. So this is another constraint which has come for the manufacturing industry revival. The third area which we have seen is the approvals. Any approval, particularly environmental approval, if we have to obtain, and fortunate or unfortunate, if you want to set up a project in India, it will be either in forest area or a tribal area. If you are not there, it is very near to some wildlife sanctuary. The kind of approvals which industry has to take, either environmental approval or you call it as forest clearance or you call wildlife approval, they are not running sequentially, they are not running parallelly, they are running sequentially. It takes minimum 4 to 8 years time to get these approval. There are no timelines. Forest clearance, there is no timelines at all. This is another constraint which the industry has been facing. The great advantage which India has is domestic demand. Instead of removing the supply side constraints, we are killing the demand in order to address the inflation. So that is exactly what we have followed in the last 4 years. So supply constraints remained. We have capacity in every sector. Every sector is operating below the capacity. If you take steel industry, we have 105 million ton. We imported 6 million ton of steel into India, operating below 80% capacity. That is the situation in every industry in India today. So therefore, how to make existing capacities to operate at full capacity, number one. Number two, how do we ensure the constraints are removed, more capacities can be created in every sector, not only to meet domestic demand, to make India as a global exporter.
Shankar, these expectations, do you see them translated into the kind of conversations you are having with your customers? Are they seeing a possible revival in demand, a possible revival in the investment cycle 3-4 months down the line? Because if that's the case, you must be beginning to see some green shoots, for want of a better term, in your business.
I'm going to exclude Mr. Sheshagiri Rao from my conversation because if he represents the quintessential industry, we are in for a longer haul than what we think we are. But the fact of the matter is we've been so impaired over the last 3.5 years. Today the concern in the top of the mind of all private sector clients is capacity utilization. Capacities are running below their threshold levels, and so to that extent I do differ from Ajit when he says that the prices will rise. I think the ability to pass the pricing is still some distance away. I don't think the corporates have discovered the pricing power yet. What most of the companies today are discussing with us is enhancements, productivity enhancements, capacity enhancement, debottlenecking. Now these are possibly larger bang for the smaller buck that you can spend on capacities which are already standing on their legs. So it's more brownfield work that we get to see rather than greenfield. When it comes to infrastructure play, I think it's a completely different environment. Private sector, which rightfully thought has a role to play along with government in building India's infrastructure, realized pretty quickly that the balance sheet is fairly shallow. The funding support came from commercial banks, which at best has 5 to 8 year money. What is required is much deeper pockets than 5 to 8 years. And given the fact that growth has melted from 9.5 to 4 in matter of 3 years, it also emphasizes that we've tried to build dreams for the country on structures which are very weak and foundations which are very shaky. So my hope, and this is something that we keep talking to our customers as well, this time over, when we are trying to build capacities, when we are trying to build the country's infrastructure, they have to be founded on better fundamentals and better viability, stress test for volatility which is inevitable in our system. So I would think that we would start engaging ourselves in conversations involving greenfield maybe 12 to 18 months from today.
Sunil, I'm going to come to you, and this is a fairly tough question. It sort of puts you in the spot. Are these investors actually investing in the right kind of assets now? Because to me it seems that everyone's getting carried away in this rash of positive sentiment that's flowing around, and any QIP that comes out, you have people willing to cut a check for that.
I was wondering whether you are looking out on your right or left, because one of your largest investor of the country is on your left side. So I was wondering
I'll
whether...
come to him soon after I finish with you.
Not long ago, May 15th, if we had this kind of discussion, probably May 15th we would be sitting and talking about almost a hopeless end. And May 16th, it was endless hope. And that's how the stock market actually reacts. So that's the reason why market is where it is. It is trading at almost 14 times 1 year forward multiple, and still a lot of money coming in. The indication clearly is a lot of this is on the basis of hope. What's directionally going to happen, what the expectations are 1 week from now. As Shrikumar, you mentioned in the beginning that this budget is in a way is short term, it's just 8 months. Not only is that just for 8 months, but it's also had a small time frame, because it's just less than 30 working days for any government to really articulate their complete plan of action. So what market is clearly expecting two things. One is they are expecting a directional approach to a plan and a plan of action, which means they are expecting the government to articulate what their strategy is going to be for the next term, 5 years, and a clear-cut articulation of action plan, time-bound action plan, how are they going to achieve it and within what time frame they are going to achieve it. Not just the articulation of the strategy, which we have heard a lot in the past. I guess that is one factor which people are expecting, and therefore the market is clearly running ahead of itself. Number two, there is expectation that a lot of things which have been put on the back burner is going to be now put in the front burner. So for example, investment climate, all of that, wherever the projects have been put on the back burner, there will be initiative taken whereby some of these will come on the front burner. And that's the reason why a market clearly running ahead of itself. The money always chases hope, right? And at some point of time, the reality will start setting in, and people will start looking at the actual earnings.
Leo, you've obviously been looking at all that this government has done ever since it's taken over, like all of us, right? And one of the strange things is no one really knows what's going on in the government, right? We've heard some announcements, but much of what we've had is really a lot of controversies, right? You know that the intent is good, but we haven't got any clear signals.
I mean, I think that the mandate that this government got was a mandate to move from a welfarist, distributive, if you like, philosophy to one which was focused on opportunity creation and job creation. So I think actually there are many ways you can frame debates around, economic progress and policy making and so on, but I think the right question to ask and the right problem statement in a sense is, how do we create jobs? It will lead you to many of the same ultimate issues and solutions, but I think it's a frame which they are going to use. Because I think in the Prime Minister's mind, from everything that I have heard publicly stated and whatever I can interpret from the BJP's approach to winning the mandate and the way that they typically behave, I think that is a central question. And I think that is absolutely the right question in which to frame how you think about policy making and place the budget in its context. And if you look at what it's going to take to create jobs, you will get some fairly big, obvious themes that will come out, of which economic liberalization, engagement with the world in the sense of drawing upon global resources, and in my mind, the third is urbanization, all become very important. And if you look at what are the policies that have to be followed in those three areas, I think, well, economic liberalization is where all the big hopes are currently being. It's about liberating resources, the kinds that Seshagiri talked about, whether it's resources related to mineral rights, whether it's resources in the sense of being able to utilize labor or land. Unless you can actually free up this country's ability to use the skills, people, and the labor and resources it has, we're never going to be able to get opportunity creation off the ground. So I think I would certainly expect not just directional statements, but something a little bit beyond that in terms of the first steps on policy formulation on some subset of these issues. I can't tell or predict whether the issues that will be picked, if you like, will end up being labor reform or power and issues related to power and coal, if you like, which are more immediately tactical, or will they be perhaps a little longer term like financial sector. But in general, I think we should look for signals that say that this country is ready to unshackle, liberate, use resources, because that's where we can start to create opportunities. So I'm fully expecting to see in some of these directions fairly clear statements that go beyond, I think, just directional commentary, which is what most people have resigned themselves to. I'm a little more optimistic, and actually you can't have everything solved in a day, but I absolutely believe you will see in one area.
But Rujan, I'm going to come to you because everyone's disinvestment has sort of become, one of those things that everyone seems to agree on. Do you think there's enough appetite for all of these stocks that are going to be coming into the market? Because only part of the demand is going to be domestic. A lot of it will be foreign investors who are buying and everything. Because I don't think the domestic market is also deep enough to just take it all. So, which is understandable. But do you think even among foreign investors there's enough appetite for all these things that are going to come out into the market?
So it might be useful to just look at some of the numbers. In the calendar year of 2014, up until 30th of June, the total FI money that has come into equity is $10 billion. And what has come into debt is another $10 billion. And a large part of this has come even before the new government was in place. 10 billion, 20 billion, 40 billion are very, very small numbers on the global, in the global space. So what it takes to move in India markets is a very, very small amount of money. In fact, what is the bigger problem in India is supply of good paper. And that has been accentuated by the fact that we have not been in an investment cycle over the last 5 years. So outside of a few consumer and internet stocks, which you keep reading about, how many good large companies have been created in the last 5 to 10 years, which you think are today at a stage where they can access the capital markets? There is enough out there for the next 5 years. And the kind of demand that we are seeing from overseas investors, we haven't seen in quite a long time. So there is a lot of appetite.
I thought, I was a little disappointed because it wasn't as bullish as you expect things to be, given that this government has come into power on the back of lots of hope and lots of expectations, and all of us sort of expect miracles. But it's also, it's also very good to hear that, there is some amount of rationality in the market, and we all recognize the fact that it is going to take time. Things are not going to change tomorrow. So.